Good morning, Unity Spiritual Center. It's August 1st, 2021. As most of you know by now, we're shut down temporarily due to COVID-19. Unfortunately, I would highly recommend that anybody who was in service last Sunday, that you get tested. I hope that you'll take that to heart and do what you need to do. This we had scheduled today, the Pat Bennett dedication. So we have postponed that. We'll give you a date later on. We don't know when we're going to reschedule that just yet. John Kuiper, Celebration of Life service is still scheduled for next Sunday at 3 o'clock. And rather than being in the community or in our building, we're going to do it outside. A little warm, but we're going to trust that the temperature isn't too bad. We're going to put some canopies up, and feel free if you're willing and able to come around 2 o'clock. Help us put those canopies up. We'll get us out of the sun, and we'll see how it all unfolds. But the family of John Kuiper is flying in. So we want to be mindful that that's a hard feat to change, and you should see an obituary in the Daily Sun sometime shortly. So I hope you'll join us. John Kuiper was one of our founding members, and he made his transition a couple weeks back. So I hope you'll join us for that. Spirit Groups is going to not meet today. We're going to meet next week, and we've sent an email out to that regard. So if you're in Spirit Groups, check your email for that. But we will meet next week. Bring chairs, and we're going to meet at Mystic Pizza, meet Mystic Ice Cream for our gathering, where we will talk about the third and fourth agreements, as well as socialize with some wonderful ice cream. Bring a chair as well for that. The Spiritual Gifts Workshop, which was scheduled for August 14th, will be rescheduled into October. So just heads up for that. Any of you that were interested in coming to that, and I hope that we have a good attendance with that, because it's just a vital workshop for us to be able to grasp what brings us joy in our sacred service work. So I hope you'll join us for that, and keep your eyes open for when we reschedule that. We will resume schedule services at the church on the 14th, the 15th of August. So I hope you plan on joining us. And of course, even though you're not physically at our location, we thank you for joining us on this video. I hope you find some solace from it, as well as don't forget to send us your love offering. Even though you're not in the building, our expenses are the same. So if you could be mindful to do that, it'd be much appreciated. Uh, So we're going to begin today, like we do all of our Sundays, with a meditation. And so I'm taking today's meditation right from the Daily Word, August 1st, which is radiance. If you care to follow along, grab your Daily Word. Otherwise, would you please put yourself in a position to go within? And so I would encourage you to find a nice, comfortable chair if you're not already in one, and put both feet on the ground and open your palms to receive all that the universe has for us, because when we are open and receptive, it is always good. And I want to remind you that we'll have 90 seconds of meditation, quiet time at the conclusion of our meditation. And so, with that, let us go within. So, take this moment to just pause our breathing so we become conscious of the breath. Take a nice deep breath, breathing in all those wonderful things that are about to happen in our life. So many good things are waiting for us. And so as we review the daily word today, radiance, radiance. The Christ presence within is my radiant source of good. The Christ presence within is my radiant source of good. On a clear day, when a stray cloud passes across the sun, I see and notice the suddenly diminished light. Then looking up, I see brilliant rays of sunshine surrounding the cloud. Instead of hiding the sun, the cloud helps me see, and I can appreciate the sun's radiance. As the sun lights the earth and is the source of its energy, the Christ, the divine presence within me, is my light and the source of everything that I need in order to live brilliantly and joyfully. When, like a passing cloud, and obstacle or challenge along my path may seem to dim my Christ light, I respond by looking up, by raising my point of view. I am reassured and strengthened, knowing that the divine radiance is shining as brightly as ever. No cloud can dim the divine light in me. The Christ presence within is my radiant source of good. So let that statement walk us through our silence. The Christ presence within is my radiant source of good. And so, in our own special way, let's give gratitude for this time to just be still and to feel the presence of that Christ within, which is my radiant source of good. We're on agreement number 3 with the 4 agreements. Let's see if I can get that in the focus. There you go, the 4 agreements. And I wanted you to let me just summarize the first one, impeccable with your word. So, in a nutshell, what we say, think, is how we evaluate what's happening in our environment and within us. Being impeccable with your words means that we're really mindful that the words match our feet. So if you say you want something, being impeccable with your word means you don't do anything other than what means that you get what it is you say you want. Being steered off the path by our fixed beliefs, by our upbringing, by our environment, causes us to be impeccable less and less. And so it's our job to just pay attention to what are we thinking and seeing and feeling, and does it match what it is we say we want in our lives? And it's important that we not talk negatively about ourselves or about other people because we will gravitate more of that negativity to us. And that's not what we say we want. So being impeccable means that we don't do the gossip, we don't do the demeaning of another person, including ourselves. The second agreement is not take anything personally. So we tend to think that what someone says about us or about an event involves us, and it's not about us. It's about their stuff. And so we can shield ourselves and know that when something is said that brings a little trigger to our minds and our bodies and maybe a little bit upsetness, We can say, wait a second, that's their stuff, not mine. What is it about me that I take that personally? So we reduce that. And when we do that, we reduce the dis-ease that comes into our body by us assuming it's about us when it probably is not. It rarely is about us, what someone else says about us. So this third agreement is about don't make assumptions. Wow. Reading this was just another eye opener. I hope you're following this book along with us. It's just it's a good basics. It really is. And so not making assumptions is a little easier than it sounds, a little harder than it sounds. It can be easy when we retrain our minds not to do that, make assumptions. And he tells us that it's up to us to practice, practice, and practice not taking and making assumptions. It's so easy to do. It's so easy for us to make assumptions. And when we make that assumption, we derive all manner of dis-ease into our bodies and want to know why I don't feel good. Why is this stuff happening? Because we're assuming what is out there involves us, much like the second agreement, not taking it personally. Making assumptions is critical for us to understand that if we don't take it personally, then I don't have to make an assumption about what's being said either. So I want to share with you some things that he writes, and I'm on page 67. We create a lot of emotional poison just by making assumptions and taking it personally, because usually we start gossiping about our assumptions. Remember, gossiping is the way we communicate to each other in the drama of hell and transfer poison to one another. Because we are afraid to ask for clarifications, we make assumptions and believe we are right about the assumptions. Then we defend our assumptions and try to make someone else wrong. It is always better to ask questions than to make an assumption because assumptions set us up for suffering. Suffering is the result of error sin, missing the mark. And that's why we suffer. And society, the whole world is drama based. We feel more alive when there's drama, and it's usually negative. It's rarely positive. And we create that drama and that dis-ease within our bodies by making assumptions. Give you a little example. Driving down the road yesterday, I'm on Warm Springs Avenue, and I see a truck in front of me. It's a nice looking truck, you know, under 3 or 4 years old. And he's kind of going over his line, and then he swerves back, and he's kind of meandering through the road. And I'm thinking, well, it's 9 o'clock in the morning, for goodness sakes. He can't have had too much to drink. What is going on? Oh, I know. He's on the cell phone. He is on his cell phone. I can see it from here. And he gets in the turn lane, doesn't signal. And I'm like creating this drama within my life and saying, I can't believe he's on the cell phone. Now, I have no idea whether he's on the cell phone or not, but I've assumed he has. Assumed, make an ass out of you and me. He makes the turn and immediately pulls off the road. And as I pass him, his head is on the steering wheel. So 911 is called. I made this assumption he was on this. He had a health challenge while he was driving. And I created all this poison, this angst in my mind and in my body because I knew he was on a cell phone. And boy, was I wrong. And I created this whole drama in my head. And that's disease. That's need unnecessary suffering in my life. Nobody else is involved, just me. The other one I made this week is Simone, the gymnastics. When I heard that she was bowing out of one of the competitions, I went, oh, she's just making herself the headlines. Now it's all about her. How selfish is she? Wow. And I was willing to tell everybody about it, how I felt about it, when I was so wrong. She was bringing attention to an issue within the collegiate event, within all of this stress to be the best. And I went, wow, I had all this unnecessary suffering, all this disease in my head because I made an assumption. I knew what she was doing and why she was doing it. No, I was so wrong about both of those situations. And yet we do it. We do it very haphazardly, especially the whole gossip thing. The whole parking lot idea, and we did a lot of talk about this when we did the mutual agreements, and maybe it's time to bring up those mutual agreements again. I'll give that some thought. But we, as a human being, create unnecessary assumption, unnecessary suffering, and dis-ease within our body and everyone around us because we make assumptions. Because we don't understand something, we make assumptions about the meaning. And when the truth comes out, the bubble of our dream pops, and we found out it was not what we thought it was at all. And I had this vision about a balloon. You know how you go to blow a balloon up, and you stretch it out and you puff into it. And with each puff, we're making an assumption about something, someone, about whatever's going on in our lives. And the balloon gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And then eventually it pops because it can't handle any more. And that dis-ease is sitting in our body, walking around, doing and running through our bloodstream. So it's up to us to stop breathing the hot air of assumptions into that balloon. That balloon is the cells within our bodies. We have millions of cells, and they regenerate day in and day out, and every little cell remembers what's in that cell and creates a new cell to match that memory. So when we can pop a cell and change its molecular structure, we create a new experience in our life. We pop that disease, we pop that sin, but we have to pay attention. We have to pay attention to what it is that we're making assumptions about. And usually it starts because we made something personal. We made it about us. It's not about us. Making us now here's one. In our relationships, I love what he points out about our relationships. You know, if you're in any primary relationship, whether it's with a neighbor, with a child, a sibling, or a partner, whatever relationships you have, we make a lot of assumptions. Someone's got a best friend, they've known you for 30 years, you can't believe they forgot your birthday. You take it personally, you make an assumption that they don't care about you because they didn't remember your birthday. What? I went, oh my goodness. So, we put it on Facebook. Put it on Facebook when your birthday is. And then, your entire universe knows when your birthday is. And then there's no more assumptions. People can wish you a happy birthday. You don't set it up. I love that feature. A couple of years ago, I got no accolades. Nothing came through on my birthday. I was a little peeved, but I don't, birthdays are not that critical to me. So, but then I realized inside, I went, nah, it did bother me. Not on a scale of a 5 on a 1 to 5, but a 2, 2.5. So I went into my settings, changed the notice, and put my birth date in there. And then the next year I had 50, 80 people wishing me a happy birthday. Boy, I felt so much better. But why doesn't everybody know my birthday? Come on, right? We make assumptions and we cause this uncomfortable feeling. And in our relationships, when we're living with somebody, don't they know how I feel about this? And so we get angry because they know us well enough. They should know better. No, no. You need something in a relationship, you ask for it. And if you're not comfortable or don't understand what the other person is asking, we need to ask. Ask the question. Tell me more. I'm not understanding you. Because when you do that, you diminish the assumption. You get rid of this notion that, oh, I understand what they mean. You probably don't. If there's gray at all, ask. That's what this agreement is about. Ask for clarity so you don't have to make assumptions. Now you can give to that person what their expectations are because they've made it clear and you've agreed to it. Or you've not agreed to it so they don't assume that you know. Ask for explanation. Find out what it is. Making assumptions in relationship leads to a lot of fights, a lot of difficulties, a lot of misunderstandings with people we supposedly love. When we're with the ones we love, don't make any assumptions. It's constant communication. Those of us in primary relationships, we know this. It is a constant communication with your partner. And I suspect that those of you that are not in relationships, it's too much work. It's not worth it. I get it. I get it. Being in a relationship with another human being, whether it's an intimate relationship or a sibling or a neighbor, takes communication. And when you can better your communication skills, there's less assumptions. You see, the problem is because our mind is busy all the time, it's actually hard for us to verbalize what it is we want. We have to give it some thought. And the more we can spend understanding that our mind is filled with all of these notions, all of these things that have occurred throughout our lives, and it gets all tangled and fuzzy and confusing up there. And it's up to us to say, wait, what is it I want right now? And be able to verbalize it. In my experience, and I suspect some of your experiences as well, that the clarity you provide to another human being and to yourself, your needs will be met. You won't have to live in that disease that somebody doesn't love you because they don't know how to treat you. You ask for what you want. And sometimes it takes us a while to get to that place to know what it is that we want. We have the need to justify everything, to explain and understand everything in order to feel safe. Safe. It's amazing. We have millions of questions that need answers because there are so many things that the reasoning mind cannot explain. It is not important if the answer is correct, just the answer itself makes us feel safe. This is why we make assumptions. We make assumptions because we want to feel okay. We want to feel safe in our environment by knowing. That's why it's so crazy making right now with this whole COVID thing. We don't know. And so everybody's making assumptions. Even the people we trust, even the science behind it is gray, it's questionable. Everybody's trying to figure it out. So a lot of assumptions are being made, a lot of misinformation. And we no longer know what's real, what isn't, what it is we're supposed to do because we feel unsafe. We can't go mill about. That's why we're closed down today. Assumptions. Assumptions. You have to go within and figure out what it is I need to do. What is it I need right now? And be able to ask for what you want and allow your impeccable word to move your feet and your mouth to get what it is you want. And I hope what you want is more relationships with God and having above the line behavior where we go and we sin no more. Remember that? Let us sin no more. Let us reduce our assumptions. Let's be more impeccable with our words and know that guess what? It's not about you. And yet it's all about you and the inner work that needs to happen so that our assumptions are less. We ask for explanations, we ask for clarity. We allow ourselves to be in a position to say, tell me more about what you need from me. More than likely, you'll get it. Most of us will give you what you need simply by knowing what the need is. We make the assumption that everyone sees life the way we do. We assume that others think the way we think, feel the way we feel, judge the way we judge, and abuse the way we abuse. This is the biggest assumption that humans make. And this is why we have a fear of being ourselves around others, because we think everyone else will judge us, victimize us, abuse us, and blame us as we do ourselves. So even before others have a chance to reject us, we have already rejected ourselves. This is how the human mind works. We are so busy judging ourselves that naturally that judgment is going to go and fall on others. And so we make an assumption that because I'm rejecting myself, you're going to reject me. And that's an assumption. So if we stop judging ourselves so harshly, do the right thing, which is our part of our fourth agreement, we can allow ourselves to be in harmony more and more with everyone and everything around us. You see, we get tunnel vision. We see only what we want to see. We need to broaden our eyes and our viewpoint. And when we make assumptions, we're putting ourselves in this little box that says, this is true about me. And it's not. It's not true about you. We ask for clarity. We ask for further explanations. And we get in touch with what is it I really need right now and be able to communicate it to another human being, because chances are they'll give you what you need. They'll give you what you're asking for. But you have to have some clarity within your own mind. What is it I need and want? Rather than assuming somebody else should know or assuming you know. Especially, don't assume you know what somebody else's needs are. Ask, are you asking me for this? Because I can give you that. Versus, I thought you wanted that. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. We make assumptions and it causes crazy making in our life. It causes the disease of hell, the dream of hell. You know, that inner drama. Without the drama, we don't feel alive. Oh, goodness gracious, no. Have that good drama in your life. Have nothing but good to say about yourself, about everyone else, especially the inner language, the stuff we say about ourselves. Make sure it's above the line. Make sure. I did something this week and the things I said about myself, and I was like, oh my goodness gracious, Mo, stop. That's not how you really feel. But I'm on automatic pilot about judging about myself. You know, I hit the leg of a chair, and I went, oh man, that's going to be a bruise. And I went on to a litany about how stupid, silly, irresponsible. Oh, just the list of negative adjectives just went on and on. And I had to bring it back in and go, that's not how I really feel. I'm sorry I hurt my leg. Just be more careful next time. That's it. End of conversation. Shut the mind up with all that negative talk and the judging. Because when we have that negative talk and judging about ourselves, you can bet we have it on other people. You see? And so we'll communicate that to somebody else, and they take it in personally, make assumptions about your mood and your words, and boom, we got a full blown nuclear war in that household. And there are no winners with that. It's not it's not just about pick your battles. That's important, and what you want to have your energy around is important. And so ask. Let's be sure we know what we're asking for and what someone else is asking of us. Because when we get that clarity, man, life is smooth and sweet, and the universe just fills you with more goodness. Why do bad things happen to good people? There's four agreements. What are we saying to ourselves? Oh, they were the most positive people I've ever met. I can't believe this big negative thing happened. It's the inner work. The inner work. Those cells, those cells within our body are remembering everything we say about ourselves. And until we change our minds, that cell will continue to remember that negative event, that negative assumption, taking it all personally. Nobody loves me. I'm not good enough. See, I botched it again. That's why nobody loves me. Wow. None of that's our truth. But we believe it with a fever. We believe it. We'll go to our dead bed believing it. And it's not true. You're a child of God. And with that, the universe will support you. You have all that you need, but we talk ourselves out of it because of our inner dialogue and the way we react with other people. You cannot live without other people, guys. Sorry. You cannot hibernate. We must dialogue with each other. We must ask for further clarification and reduce the amount of assumptions that we make with each other. We need to get clear. What is it I'm asking for so that our word can match our feet? And I assure you, when we take this to heart and start paying attention to all the assumptions we make about ourselves and the inner dialogue, the negativity, we can shift that around. We will find the universe is more in cooperation with you. No matter what's going on out there, it's irrelevant. You see, all that's going out there is not about you, it's their stuff. We have to shield ourselves from taking that negativity in and making ownership of it, because that's where dis-ease starts from. Dis-ease with our words, with our assumptions, and with us taking it personally. Your homework: write that third agreement on that 3x5 card from last week. Don't make assumptions. Ask for clarity. Right next to it. But don't make assumptions. Dash. Ask for clarity. What do you mean right now? Making no assumptions. Oh, I assumed. No. No assumptions. Get clarity with everything you do. Try it for a week. Oh, your partner and your friends are going to be like, oh, she's asking me too many. No, get the clarity. Become the one that's known for, oh, she's going to ask for, yes, ask for clarity. Be sure you know so there's no assumptions. Work with that. See where that lends itself. See how the good in your life can increase by making less assumptions. I wish you well. Stay healthy and safe, and we'll see you next week. And thanks so much for joining us. And please remember to send your tithes and love offerings in, as we are still a functioning community. Thank you and God bless.